Now while you're watching this video, please remember to like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon for notification of future videos, and share this video also. Thank you.
All these distractions. I don't need gold manicured nails. I don't need that. A man that's a real man, he don't worry about having calluses on his hands.
Man is a real man.
Yeah, he don't worry about calluses on his hand.
So you're not in these metrosexual men who are going up to do their nails and all that kind
not
of
at all.
manicure.
I'm a real man. I'm a thoroughbred man. I'm not walking around with shiny nails like I'm some faggot. No, I don't do that.
You know what?
Oh, no, I don't do that. And if you look at the preachers that is on television today,
Yes.
they're more groomed. Some of them are groomed better than some women.
Yes. As it's only preachers with earrings.
Oh, yes. Why would a real man wear earrings? Why would
A real man wouldn't wear it.
No, not a real man. Not at all. No, a preacher. A preacher would represent God with an earring. A preacher with a ponytail.
Yes, ponytail. You know.
Yes, a preacher. Well, can you imagine such? But this is how far out of left field the churches have gone. They don't exempt the so-called apostolic, the Pentecostal, all of them. They have resort to the same thing.
And you are strongly.
Well, hello there. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Yes, as you can see, the title suggests, can Christian men wear earring, and can Christian women wear a navel ring? Now, this is what we want to talk about in this video. I know the topic in and of itself, it's very surprising to you, because perhaps a lot of Christians may have never touched this subject. When I say Christians, I'm speaking specifically of those who actually teach the word and so forth. Now, today is Monday the 10th of May, the 10th of May 2021, Monday. I had intended to do a study on what name to be baptized in. I've been saying it for over and over so many times in my videos, but I just can't seem to get the time to study it out, to gather my text and so forth, because it's not a subject that I'm familiar with. It's not something, in terms of, it's not something that I would have studied throughout Adventism. I'm a former SDA, and because it's not something that we study, you know, this is a Pentecostal teaching. They are the only group really who are hung up on what name to baptize in. So because of that, it's not something that is fresh in my mind. I know the text, you know, I know how to refute their arguments, you know, but for me to present it, I'm going to have to gather the necessary text, look at Greek and Hebrew, and it's going to take a lot of time. So it so happened that I was planning to do that today, but time ran out on me. So this is why I'm doing this topic today, right? And this is a topic that I had wanted to touch on too. Now, it should be clear, because I've done videos on jewelry and so forth. You will find that in the comment section. As a matter of fact, they are in a playlist section titled Christian Adornment. I'll post them in the comment section. Jewels. Based off all the study, it should be clear that that a Christian can wear earring. But the reason why I specifically pointed out men wearing earring is because you don't see Christian men wearing earring. You might find one and two of them, but not much, because the Christian church has somehow established that it's a sin for a Christian man to wear an earring, right? And likewise, even more far-fetched, is a Christian woman actually wearing a navel ring. Now, I haven't seen in the scriptures where navel ring is really mentioned. I'm not sure, right? But even if it isn't mentioned in the Bible, if I can prove that the wearing of jewelry, it is okay, it should follow that if a Christian woman wants to wear a navel ring. But please be patient, guys, before you immediately click off and start to cuss me out and what have you. Give me a fair chance, right, to actually explain the reason for my conclusion. And I'm actually begging you, because I know the Christian mind, when you're hearing a subject that you're not familiar with, you're hearing someone speaking in the affirmative of something that you have long held as a don't among Christians. I know the attitude that may actually come. So I'm actually begging you for a fair chance, and just hear me out on what I have to say, right? Likewise, if I can prove men wearing earring, that is the more mild of the two subject, you know, because if Christian women wear earring and they can wear it and they do wear earring, it should follow that the men should be able to do the same, right? So that's why I consider that to be the more mild of the two. Now, the Bible speaks about earring. This is something that we are sure of, right? I would have pointed out the scriptures in my videos on jewelry, but maybe persons wouldn't be focusing much on the earring part. So I'm going to single them out right now in this study. And because of the time constraint, I'm going to do this somewhat quickly, right? So let's look at Genesis. Before I even get to Genesis, I'm going to look at Exodus first. This is Exodus chapter 32, right? Verses 2 to 3. We see where Aaron asked the children of Israel to take off their jewels, right? Earrings which they had in their ears, right? And they brought it to Aaron and he used it along with other jewels and so forth to basically make golden calf out of it. Now the text says that Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. So this is basically telling you that even men were actually wearing earrings, not just the women alone. It did say the earrings of your sons, you know, they wore earring as well, and Aaron used it, right, and made golden calf out of it. Now the proof text, right, that persons will use, they will use this passage as a proof text and say, hey, you see, the wearing of earring is wrong. You see what they do with it? They take it and make idols from out of it. Right? This is what they will basically say out of it. But in order to really understand if this is true, you must examine the scriptures as a whole to basically prove your thesis on this. And this is what I'm going to do. You see the place is getting dark, the sun is going out, so I'm gonna have to move a bit faster. Right? Exodus 35 verse 22. And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing hearted, and brought bracelets and earrings and rings and tablets, all jewels of gold. And every man that offered an offering, right, of gold unto the Lord. I know you see me in several of my videos wearing jewelry, bracelet and so forth, right? This is basically showing you that the children of Israel wore these things and they offered it as an offering unto the Lord, right? You look in the entire chapter, you won't find God rebuking them or Moses for the things that they wore. It goes to show that earring, right, this passage, you know, is basically showing that the wearing of earring, bracelet, rings and jewels were acceptable among them, and they used it. God accepted the offering. If God had despised these things, he wouldn't have accepted the offering. So you can't use Exodus 32 and talk about what Aaron did with it and say that it is wrong. No, it is wrong when you use it for idolatry. When the thing becomes an idol to you, that is when it becomes a sin. Like for instance, if you lose a piece of jewel and it's like you want to kill someone for it, that's when it becomes a sin, because it becomes an idol to you. Right? Other passages in Numbers 31 verse 50, we find them offering up earrings and other jewels as well, right, to make atonement for their soul as an offering. In Judges chapter 8, we find Gideon even asking the men to basically give up the earrings of their prey and so forth. Right, guys? This is Gideon, you know, who was basically called a mighty man of valor by angels. Clearly, this was not a sin. Otherwise, he would not have asked for those earrings. Right? We find it in Judges chapter 8, verse 24 to 26. They wore earring. It was an acceptable practice where the men actually wore earring. Right? Now, we find in Hosea chapter 2 verse 13, where God said he's going to visit the children of Israel, right? I will visit upon her the days of Balaam, when she burned incense to them, and she decked herself with earrings and her jewels, and she went after her lovers and forgot me, saith the Lord. Right? So we see here that God said he's going to visit upon her sins. Why? Because he decked herself in jewels, earrings and so forth, and went after her lovers. So it is the purpose for what they use the earrings and jewelry for that God was angry with. We find the same thing, right? In Isaiah 30, no, in Isaiah 3, right, where God says he's going to take away their bonnets, ornaments of legs, and the tablets, and a number of things he's going to take away from them. Why? Because they had gotten very sinful in his sight. He had gotten very sinful, and he says he's going to strip them naked. What we're reading from the Old Testament, it is evident that both men and women actually wore earring. Right? In Genesis 24, which is going to be the last passage of scripture that we look at, where we find that even Rebecca, right? Even Rebecca was wearing wore earring. Now, because of time constraint, anything that I have to explain about Genesis 24, I will put it on the screen. I'm very sorry, guys, but I'm trying to hurry. Right? So, we see that even Rebecca wore earring, right? And remember now, you know, the scripture says where there is no law, there is no sin. Right? So, it also says in Isaiah, to the law and to the testimony, if it speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So, in the giving of the law, right, there is nowhere in the Torah, which is the law, where it says that the children of Israel are not to wear jewelry. And if anyone who actually say that based off the Old Testament, the children of Israel were not permitted to wear jewelry, they're actually speaking in contrary to the law. Because God said, to the law and to the testimony, if it speak not according to this, no light is in it. So if you use the law, you know, and say Christians should wear jewelry, you know, when there is no law in it, you would be speaking contrary to the law, and there would be no light in it. No law from the Old Testament said that neither men or women can't wear jewelry, or can't wear earring more specifically. Right? Now, in 1 Peter chapter, I think it's chapter 3, where it talks about how a woman should adorn themselves, right? And it tells you that their adornment must more be of the inward, right? Even the ornament of a meek and a quiet spirit. So the adornment mustn't just be about the outward, you know, how they put the hair, wear the hair, and how they wearing of gold, and the apparel that they put on, and so forth. It must more so be about what is inside, and not how they adorn themselves on the outward, right? And based off the context, you know, if you say by this that it is saying that they shouldn't wear gold, or they shouldn't plait the hair, then you have to say that Christians shouldn't put on apparel, and that would mean that Christian women should actually walk naked. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to take it into context. You can't say that he's saying here that they shouldn't wear these things. No, he's saying that they shouldn't get so puffed up, so concerned about the outward, and not paying much attention to the inward. Right? Because why? The reason is given, you know, especially in verse 5. For after this manner in old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husband. Now, how did the holy women of old adorn themselves? Based off Rebecca, we see that we can say that it's likely that they wear jewelry. When it's talking about holy women, you know, and the other verse talk about Sarah, you know, right? It would classify that Rebecca is also among it as well. Holy women of old, you know, is talking about women in the time of Genesis, right? And beyond. These are holy women of old. And we see that Rebecca we're erring and so forth. And Peter is saying here that Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are. So this is how they adorned themselves. It was more of the inward and not outward. Right? And this is what Peter is actually conveying. That yes, you can wear your stuff, but ensure that you're beautifying the inward. He doesn't want them to be so concerned with the outward that they ignore the inward. And this is what Peter is actually saying here. So yes, both men and women, they can wear earring. There is no teaching in the New Testament, right, that state that men, Christian men, cannot wear earring. Alright, and there is nowhere to show that Christian women can't wear navel ring. Right? Where there is no law, there is no sin. So even while they can't find anything to condemn it in the Old Testament, because where there is no law, there is no sin. If it speak not according to this word, there is no light in it. You now have to go to the New Testament, and you cannot find anything from the New Testament that would basically condemn earring or any form of jewelry, which I would have proven before already. But what I will say about this is that if you're a Christian man, you might not want to wear earring. Right? And for Christian women, you might not want to wear navel ring. And here's why. Romans chapter 14. There are several other passages in it, but I'm going to use Romans 14 alone for time's sake. It basically teaches us that it talks about food and so forth. And it teaches Romans 14 that you can eat just about any food you want to eat. However, we have a duty, right? That if a certain type of food, right, will cause your brother to be offended, then you ought not to eat it, because it talk about a weak believer, that the weak believer eat vegetables alone, but the strong believer eats everything. And there Paul is basically telling you that you should have consideration. You who are strong should have consideration, right, for someone who is weak. So in verse 20 in particular, Paul says, right, reading from the NLT, don't tear apart the work of God over what you eat. Remember, all foods are acceptable, but it is wrong to eat something if it makes another person stumble. Verse 21, it is better not to eat meat or drink wine or do anything else, and that would include jewelry, if it might cause another believer to stumble. You may believe there is nothing wrong with what you are doing, but keep it between yourself and God. Blessed are those who don't feel guilty for doing something they have decided is right. So keep it to yourself and to God. That even though you know, right, that nothing is wrong with it, keep it to yourself and to God. But if you have doubts about whether or not you should eat something, you are sinning if you go ahead and do it, for you are not following your convictions. If you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning. So Paul is encouraging you, to follow your conviction, So I know many persons will hate at what I am saying, right? If you don't feel convicted at this, because you can't refute it, right? But if you don't feel convicted at this, follow your conviction. But if you do feel convicted at this, you might not want to wear them. And I wouldn't encourage, especially the wearing of men wearing earring. And the reason for this is because the Christian church is not at the stage of maturity where these things are concerned. They are not at the stage of knowledge and understanding. So therefore, you will cause many persons to stumble. And this is what I said to a Christian man once who was wearing earring, right? It's actually a former SDA that I happen to know. And I tell him that I wouldn't wear it because I know that Christian church, they are not at the stage where they can accept that, and they will stumble because of it, right? And likewise, the lady that a Christian woman asked me about navel ring, and I tell her the same thing, that I have no problem with it. I don't see a problem with it, but you may be judged for it. Why? Because Christians are going to see it as a sin, and they may stumble because of it. And when it talk about stumbling, Paul is saying that if another Christian person see it as something wrong, and they see you doing it as a Christian, they will feel away and say, oh, this person say I'm a Christian and they're doing that, and you understand, it may bother their minds, right? It may bother their minds and so forth, and so Paul doesn't want you to do that. Not because you have liberty and you know it's right and so forth, you must say, oh, I have the liberty to do it, so let me do it. So this is what Paul here is saying. Have consideration for your brother. So yes, it is okay if a Christian man would want to wear earring, and yes, it is okay if a Christian woman wants to wear a navel ring. Any ring for that matter. But I wouldn't encourage it. So while I wear other forms of jewelry, I'm not going to pierce my ears, because Christians are, I know it's going to mess with a lot of Christians' mind, and so I wouldn't do it. If you want to wear a navel ring though, right, be discreet with it. Don't let other Christian persons see it, because they might not be, you may cause them to stumble. If they see that you're a Christian and you're wearing it, it may cause them to stumble. And not just Christian, fellow Christian brethren, but other non-Christian who think in themselves that it's wrong for Christian to do these things, you can actually turn them off. And they be like, yes, and sorry about that, guys, yes, and they be like, oh, he's wearing earring, and he says a Christian. Oh, she's wearing navel ring and she says she's a Christian. Exactly. And you may cause that person to turn away from Christ, a soul who perhaps Christ may have been drawing onto himself. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what Paul is actually saying to you here. Don't abuse your liberty. Right? Don't abuse your liberty. Now, I'm basically ending this video. As you can see, it is actually night. I'm still at work. I know the lights are even on. It's a long time I haven't actually done videos so late while at work. But nevertheless, you know, it's just for the love of the gospel, guys. And ironically, curfew hours at my country is actually within the next hour. So I gotta get the hell out of here. So you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Bye bye now.